Sarnia is a small city in southwestern Ontario famous for its beautiful parks and beaches. However, Sarnia hides a dark secret. More than 60 chemical plants and refineries lie within Sarnia's borders that produce unimaginable amounts of toxic gases that the people of Sarnia must unwillingly breathe in every day. In fact, the air in Sarnia is the most polluted air in all of Canada, a mere 2 hours away from us here in the city of Waterloo.
The collection of chemical production sites is known as Chemical Valley, where 40% of Canada's entire petrochemical industry can be found, spanning the size of 100 city blocks. Sadly, Chemical Valley was built directly next to a First Nations reserve called Aamjiwnaang, which is home to just over 1,000 people. Because the people of Aamjiwnaang live on the front lines of Chemical Valley, they bear the brunt of its worst effects, reporting higher rates of cancer, miscarriage, and a disproportional birth rate than the national average.
Despite this, the Canadian government has yet to launch a proper health study investigating these issues. As if this was not bad enough, residents of Aamjiwnaang have to constantly live in fear of frequent chemical leaks that go unreported by the refineries themselves. High levels of benzene, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and asbestos, among other chemicals, leave residents of Aamjiwnaang feeling constantly dizzy and sick, and has killed countless people.
The Aamjiwnaang Environmental Committee was founded to combat chemical industry growth in Sarnia. It was when the committee came together that people began to realize the extent of the damage Chemical Valley was having on their community. Ada Lockridge, lovingly nicknamed Ada Brockovich, is an outspoken activist in the fight against Chemical Valley. She often tests the air quality herself with an instrument called the Bucket Brigade and ships air samples all the way to California to analyze the data.
Ada recently came in to speak with us about her experiences living so close to Chemical Valley and how it impacts her everyday life. As Ada told our class through tears how she constantly fears for the health of her loved ones and can no longer enjoy simple pleasures like sleeping with the window open to feel the breeze, we felt extremely angry and saddened by Ada's reality and the fact that nobody seems to be doing anything about it. Being scared to breathe should not be a part of anyone's daily life.
One of the most frustrating things about Ada's story was how helpless we felt after learning about the situation in Sarnia. Why hadn't we heard about this before? Why was there so little media coverage about it? It seemed as if the government wasn't doing anything productive to help, despite the constant pain and suffering the residents of Sarnia have to constantly live through.
We wanted to know more about the situation, and reading Chapter 8 of our class textbook really helped to shed light on the specifics of what Chemical Valley is doing to the people living around it.
Poor air quality, noxious odors, toxins, and other physical and psychological demands put pressure on physiological systems and are referred to as stressors. When environmental, physical, and physiological stressors interact, they produce greater effects than would be expected from a single stressor. Human bodies respond to environmental and physical stressors and to anxiety, fear, and worry in similar ways.
While listening to Ada, it was not hard for one to notice the great amount of stress she is forced to face every day due to the stressors that arise from Chemical Valley. Environmental stressors can produce physical symptoms and directly cause disease, and a serious diagnosis for oneself or loved one can create a great deal of emotional and psychological stress. Ada expressed how she has lost friends and family, which only continues to contribute to the daily stressors that she is forced to face.
She explained to us how she does not lead a normal, carefree life like we do. Ada and everyone else who lives near Chemical Valley can no longer enjoy the simple things, like gardens and rivers. She elaborated by stating that the children used to play in rivers before realizing that the fish were getting sick and dying. That's when they realized it was no longer safe to be in the river.
Living in a community near a power plant or lake where fish are inedible can produce considerable mistrust, anxiety, depression, or anger concerning the obvious or invisible health effects. Ada also expressed the fact that she can't even go visit her loved ones who have passed without putting herself at risk. The cemetery is so close to the plants that the air around it is just not safe.
Being aware of living in potentially dangerous circumstances can cause stress, and such psychological stress is also hazardous because it can produce adverse health effects. Prolonged stress damages the gastrointestinal system as well as the circulatory and cardiovascular systems. Frequent mobilization of the stress response increases blood pressure, escalating one's risk for stroke or heart attacks.
Research suggests a relationship between stress and cancer through several mechanisms. Stress hormones contribute directly to at least some cancers, and environmental stressors such as air pollution, pesticides, endocrine disruptors, and other toxic chemicals can directly cause or increase the risk for various cancers. These are just some of the stressors that Ada and everyone else who's directly affected by Chemical Valley have to face.
Although it may not seem like it, Ada's story relates to climate change on a global scale. The emotional stress caused by an environmental issue such as Chemical Valley can manifest itself in behavioral disorders such as overeating, smoking, and alcohol abuse. Addictive disorders such as overeating and our cultural demand for animal products directly threaten the environment and our health.
As quoted in Chapter 8, so much food is misused and wasted. Nature is disrespected. Plants and animals are seen only in terms of their ability to satisfy addictions. We consume the earth to ease our pain. The comfort we seek from food in the form of animal products because of environmental stress is extremely destructive to our world.
Studies show that animal agriculture is responsible for anywhere from 18 to 51% of greenhouse gas emissions, which is more than the combined exhaust from all global transportation, including cars, planes, trains, and boats. Cows also produce methane, a greenhouse gas with a global warming potential 86 times that of carbon dioxide on a 20-year time frame. Reducing methane emissions even by a small amount would create tangible benefits almost immediately.
The production of animals for their meat and byproducts uses 55% of water consumed in the United States, while only 5% of water is used by private homes. The government profits exponentially from the animal agriculture industry, which is why we are constantly encouraged to take shorter showers and turn off our lights, but are seldom told to reduce our consumption of meat. Animal agriculture is also the leading cause of species extinction, ocean dead zones, water pollution, and habitat destruction. For example, animal agriculture is responsible for 91% of destruction in the Amazon rainforest.
Like how many people feel when they hear Ada's story, it can be hard to care about a problem that feels so far removed from our everyday life. But if we are not careful, the effects of our addiction to meat could be seen in our lifetime. In fact, we could see fishless oceans by the year 2048.
The relationship between an environmental stressor such as Chemical Valley, anxiety, and meat consumption is a viciously complex cycle that harms our physical health, our mental well-being, and the environment on all ends. So what can we do to help? If helping the situation in Sarnia from afar seems impossible or overwhelming, choosing to reduce your consumption of animal products is something you can do multiple times a day that does not cost any money or time. In fact, it is probably the best thing one can do for the environment and their health.
Although we have briefly outlined some of the effects animal agriculture has on the environment, we urge our viewers to watch Cowspiracy, a fantastic documentary that explores the devastating impact of animal agriculture on the environment and investigates the policies of several environmental organizations on this issue. In summary, we encourage the class to educate themselves and to take responsibility for the impact that their food choices have on our environment.